Hi there, welcome to Rory Gardens. Now most people who grow fig trees or ficus, like this one here, grow them ornamentally. So these beautiful broad leaves really add a structural element to the garden, very ornamental. This is quite a young tree, so on a more established tree, these leaves are much broader, much bigger. So if you're growing it ornamentally, they require very little care. They like being in pots, which is very handy, so you can move them around the patio and you can control the soil in which they're being grown in. And you can move it into different parts of the garden, so they're very nice as an ornamental shrub. This shrub is being grown, or tree is being grown as a cropping tree. So this is growing in a kitchen garden, so I want to get as many figs as I can off this tree, and it's being grown against the wall. This is just to enable it to be grown as a fan. So if you're growing it for fruit, it's best to train it as a fan. It just makes the tree much more controllable. You can prune it and you can basically train it to become much more manageable and accessible for fruits. If you leave them to grow naturally, they'll grow huge and they just become very difficult to crop. So as I said, this is being grown as a fan, and we're in September now, so it doesn't really require any pruning now. In fact, I recommend you don't prune it at all now, because what you'll see at the end of the growth tips, so these shoots have been growing throughout the summer, and at the end of them you'll just start to see little fruitlets. They range from, I've got one here, they range from about the size of a pea, you can see that one, to about the size of a strawberry. Now this is about as big as I'd want a fruitlet to be over winter, because what happens is this tree will grow these little fruitlets in the summer and they will overwinter, because in this climate in the UK it's very rare that a fig will grow from fruitlet to ripe fruit in a season unless we get a remarkably hot year. So what will happen is the tree will develop these little fruitlets, and then I'll leave these to overwinter. Like I said, if it's from a range size of a pea to the size of a strawberry, leave it on over winter, and then these fruitlets mid to late spring, early summer next year will ripen and develop into those lovely soft figs that we all know. One thing to think about is if you have any fruitlets that are bigger than this one, often they are failed fruits from the previous year. So these will ripen next year, but if for whatever reason they don't, they will stay on the tree and they'll be much bigger but hard and green. You want to take those off the tree just before you enter the winter. So if on this tree here I had anything bigger than that on it at this time of year, I'd remove that, because the chances are they'll get frost damage, they'll rot, and they'll spoil the tree. They'll attract vermin, wasps and whatnot. So anything bigger than that at this time of year, I'll take it off the tree. And it also maximises the chance of these smaller fruitlets to ripen into next year. And these will ripen, as I said, late spring, early summer next year, assuming that the weather is kind. Figs can be quite temperamental. They do require lots of heat, lots of sun. But once they do crop, you can start cropping them. As for pruning, I'll do a video later on in the year, next year, but I'll just snip these leaders. So once these fruits ripen, you want to prune up until July. Any point past July, you don't really want to be pruning them, because as I said, it's the new shoots that these fruitlets will form on. So you can prune any time from the spring up until July. As soon as you hit July, don't prune, because that allows enough time for the remaining part of the season to grow new shoots and for the fruitlets to form for the following season. So it sounds more complicated than it is. Just bear in mind that at this time of year in September, if you have little fruitlets on your fig tree, leave them over winter, and then hopefully, fingers crossed, weather dependent, they will form nice juicy figs next year.